Hello everyone. So we looked at the stick cuts and I wrote some of them up on the board here. So we've got the bâtonnet, again, a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch by 3 inches, and julienne, which is 1/8 by 1/8 by 2 or 3 inches. And there is a smaller one called fine julienne, which I didn't show, but maybe I'll do it here when we do the dices. And then I've also written up what the dice sizes are. So large dice, 3/4, 3/4, 3/4 inches. Sometimes you'll see just inch cubes listed, which is fine. It's around the same size. Medium dice, 1/2 inch cubes. Small dice, or macédoine is the French name. Those are 1/4 by 1/4 by 1/4. And then brunoise is 1/8 by 1/8. And fine brunoise is 1/16 by 1/16 by 1/16 cube. And notice bâtonnet is a cubed, macédoine or a small dice is a cubed bâtonnet, and then julienne is brunoise, and fine julienne will turn into fine brunoise if we just cube them. So basically we're making one more cut than what we did when we did the sticks. All right, so I'm going to take another potato here, and I started squaring it off. Let me finish that. And I'm going to cut some more of these. So the first one, better do it right away because I'm going to use most of this potato, is to do the large dice. So the large dice, again, about 3/4 of an inch. And again, if I'm standing so that my knife is pointing straight away from me, I'm back further on the knife, so I've got plenty of distance to go forward with my knife as I make that cut and use the sharpness of the knife, then I should be able to just cut off a piece that's about 3/4 of an inch thick. This isn't completely square, so let me square it off a little bit more. And then if I just measure off the same amount again, then when I make that cut, I should have something that's pretty well square as a stick. There's no French name for these big ones because we're not making stuff that big. But then if I make one more cut on it to dice it, and I just keep that size the same, then I should end up with a pretty consistent large dice. So again, if they're the same size and we go to cook this, then they're going to cook in about the same amount of time. So this might be like butternut squash, right? Instead of cutting a potato, we might cut a butternut squash like this and roast it off in the oven. It ends up as a vegetable on a plate. But if something's listed as large dice in a recipe, then that's the size we're looking for. And then when it comes to medium dice, it's going to be 1/2 inch, so a bit smaller. I think I can just about get that off of here. Again, this is not entirely squared. And then if I do the same thing and I make that 1/2 inch cut for the sticks, then I should end up with sticks that are pretty consistent in size. And then again, one more cut on those, and I've got my medium dice. And again, this could be a vegetable that's going to be being used on a plate. It could be something that's going to get cooked in a soup, and they're all kind of consistent size and a good size for somebody to eat. You get another potato. And let me square this one off, and we'll do some of those smaller cuts. Okay, so now if I want to do the brunoise or the fine brunoise, those are going to be more precise cuts. They're going to be smaller cuts. As you get smaller, of course, it gets a little harder to do. And again, I curl my fingers underneath so they're protected, and I want to cut off for my brunoise first. That first cut, I want it to be about 1/8 of an inch thick. So let me take a few pieces for that. And then if I stack a few of those together on my knife, this is a little bit long, Like if I was trying to make julienne, this is a little bit long for a julienne, but if we're going to make brunoise, it just means I'd have more of them. So if I stack those up on my knife and I cut them again about 1/8 by 1/8, then I'll have these sticks like we had before with the julienne. That one's not even. That are about 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch. And so if I stack these together and I cut these one more time, then we're going to have them cubed and we'll have the brunoise cut. So let me make those. Again, notice my fingers are curled under on my offhand so that I'm protecting those. So then I have these little cuts on here that are a very small dice, brunoise. Again, I wouldn't do this for, some puree or something like that. It'd be a waste of time. But as a garnish around the outside of a plate, it can really add pop of color and so forth to that plate. Let me put them in some water. Commonly it might be brunoise of like roasted red pepper or some other colorful vegetable, so that you're utilizing that small item to really make color on a plate pop. And then the one that I didn't show before, so let me make this a little bit shorter, was, as far as a stick is concerned, is the fine julienne, and then we can turn that into the fine brunoise. So that one's 1/8 or 1/16 of an inch thick, which is very thin. I think those actually might have been a little too thin. So again, these are very thin cut. I think I have one other good one here. And from those, I can stack those up and push them up against my knife to straighten them out. And if I do the same thing again, when I say the same thing, I mean cut the same size as I did with the first cut. So I'm looking to mark off the same amount, then I should have these very thin sticks. That would be a fine julienne. So you can see this is very thin. They're real flexible because of how small they are. And again, this would be used just for garnish. We wouldn't be doing this for for something that's not going to be seen, because you're not going to be taking that kind of effort for it. And then if I stack these up, if I can, they're so small I don't want to stack. Maybe a little less. Potatoes are sticky. So if I stack these ones up and I square them off, then we're going to end up with that fine brunoise, which is, again, a very small, tiny cut. Let me square that off. So you can see on my knife here, they're just these tiny little dots are on my hand there. Let me put some in water, you can see them a little better. So those are those fine brunoise. You can even see them on the bottom. And then those are the brunoise. So those, again, are some of the cube cuts. Large dice, medium dice, small dice are the macédoine, brunoise, and fine brunoise. And actually, I skipped one. I didn't do the small dice. Let me do that. So again, small dice, 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to take 1/4 of an inch. Planks is what those first cuts are usually called. And then make our bâtonnet. So those are those 1/4 inch sticks like we did before. And then square those off and do it one more time. And then I've got small dice or macédoine. And let me put those in water. So that's the small dice there. And again, small dice, something that you want to cook faster oftentimes, or in a consommé maybe, a soup that you have really good clarity so you can see things. If you small dice everything or macédoine everything, it looks very nice. Might be used in a salad too, where you want this a smaller cut. And again, if it's cooking, it's going to cook consistently because they're all the same size. So that's always, one of the big goals, either presentation or even cooking typically, is why we're doing these different cuts. So some more of our knife cuts. Stay tuned for some more.